We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Told me that he did everything he could to make the fight happen. Do you believe that?
God damn it. Nah. But man, if he did everything that he could to make the fight happen, the fight would have happened, man. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately he didn't, you know, and he wouldn't have battled the wrong way. If he was just, you know, been on the up and up and just been like, hey, I've been talking to the guys, I'm fighting this guy for $10 million, this is an easy fight, I'm gonna make this money right quick and I'll be right back. You probably let him do it. I'm not hating, get your money, man. But you know the way he went about it, and then you know trying to blame my side for messing up the negotiations. You know I feel like that wasn't right at all. So, but hopefully I can spin that block again.
Errol Spence finally breaks his silence. What went wrong with the Terence? But hey, stop that cat fight. What happened? Errol Spence says Terence Crawford, he wrong. What he did was not right. I'm going to break down all those things and more in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Errol Spence was on Showtime. He's a fighter, but he's also a promoter. Man Down Promotions, stop that cat. Okay. And Errol Spence talked with Brian Custer on the Frank Martin, Michel Rivera. I think it was in between the fight. Now, the $1 million question, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, they were in negotiations recently. What happened? And you guys heard the clip at the beginning, and Errol Spence said his piece. And he says that what Crawford did was wrong. And since you guys heard the clip, I'm going to give you my thoughts and just paraphrase a couple parts and give you the cliff notes. So basically, he says Terence Crawford was in the wrong. Had you said that you were going to get this bag to fight an non-accomplished David Avanesian, then he says, I'm not gonna stop you. Ain't no hate in my heart. We would have just been like, all right, cool, and then proceeded to move on with the plan. So he said for Crawford to then flip it and act like it was his team and PBC and Al Heyman that was holding up the fight, he says he's wrong for that. So he keeps talking about spinning the block. That part remains to be seen. Will he spin the block, and will this fight happen? Will it happen at 47 for undisputed? Could it happen in the future at 54? Those questions remain to be seen. Now, I gotta talk my talk. I'm the best in boxing history. I keep telling you guys the same thing. We unpack, coming to you live. Errol Spence is saying the exact same things that the great Ego Stradamus told you in my videos, like virtually verbatim. Check the content. I don't delete videos. I don't delete tweets. Everything I've been saying regarding this situation has reared its ugly head into the boxing world. Errol Spence just told you that we were in negotiations. And this is a quick, disclaimer. Do you notice when Errol Spence and Derek James, of course, they're going to say their version of events, no biggie. But do you notice when Terence Crawford and his team talk about the other side, there's so much venom, vitriol, and it just becomes a nasty conversation like, oh, Errol Spence is a goddamn drunk. He smashed the whip and flew out the car, things like that. I mean, even Bomac, before the fight with Michel Rivera, the fight where Errol Spence did this interview, Bomac took to his social media and he says that he's rooting for Michel Rivera. Michel Rivera was the guy who's fighting Errol Spence's fighter, Frank Martin. Now, the interesting thing about this is, to me, it comes across poorly as hate and distasteful because the whole world knew Errol Spence was there and he's promoting Frank Martin and Man Down Promotion, etc. I have never heard Bomac ever mention really either fighter, Frank Martin or Michel Rivera. But all of a sudden, he's rooting for Michel Rivera, who just happens to be opposing an Errol Spence stable fighter, and he wants the world to know that. So to me, it just shows that you want the world to see you hating, because you brought attention to that. You could have just watched the fight and say, and here's the thing. And it's funny because Crawford himself, his team, they said stuff like, oh, you pesky YouTubers, you don't know nothing, these types of things. But the funny thing is, YouTubers and YouTube channels such as myself are always marginalized to make it like we're fanatical. Now, I know there are some channels like that. I can't speak for that. I can only speak for my brand, Boxingego. And to say I'm fanatical or emotional, you know, that don't make sense. But here's the thing. The difference is I have never put out a fight prediction in my multiple years, decade plus of doing this, never put out a fight prediction and said, oh, like gave you a fight prediction and said this guy wins because I'm rooting for him. Or that's what my heart said. I don't say stuff like that. So you got to look at the vernacular and the words that people choose to use. He didn't say Michelle Rivera, I think he beats Frank Martin's ASS. He says, I'm rooting for you. So to me, that comes across as hate. Like you've never publicly said anything about either fighter, but you happen to be rooting against Errol Spence's fighter randomly when I've never heard you talk about either fight. Like, what makes you root for Michelle Rivera over Frank Martin? Why did you feel that was so needed to put that prediction out? You know, so to me, that just looks a bit weird. Now, getting back to the subject, Errol Spence, again, he told you his side, and I agree with him. Like I said, when Derek James and Errol Spence, on the contrary to what I just said about like Bomac and Crawford's team, when they're talking, they're just giving you their opinions. Derek James did an interview and made a video about it. He says Crawford made a bad move, basically saying that his leverage has been stifled because you had another non-successful event. You don't have proper representation. You don't have Top Rank promoting you. You don't have Eddie Hearn or PBC promote. You don't have a promotion. And your fight is marred with controversy with the glove gate. And the gloves exploded and it wasn't successful. We know that. BLK Prime, they can lie, they can say whatever they want and say, oh, he exceeded expectations. But answer this question. If Crawford truly exceeded expectations, just listen to the statement. He exceeded expectations. What does that even mean? He exceeded expectations. What if your expectation was 1 pay-per-view buy and you did 2? That's technically exceeding expectations. So that doesn't really tell you that the event was a success. And we know in boxing, in general, a rule of thumb is if the event is mad successful, they're not going to probably hide and not reveal the numbers, and the numbers won't come out. So the rumored numbers are atrocious. I've heard things from like 10,000 and under, 5,000. So again, BLK Prime, they put out statements saying Crawford sold out in Omaha, or he's close to sell out and sold this many tickets in a week. But they haven't come out and put out a press release as of me recording this video. So if they try to do it now, you know, a week plus later, then you know what that is. But they haven't come out and said, oh, he did X, Y, and Z. He did 150,000. And again, Crawford's numbers with Sean Porter were horrible and considered a failure on pay-per-view. And that's with an engine of Top Rank and ESPN owned by Disney. So if it did, Sean Porter's a 2-time former champion, and he's a better name, bigger name, American in America. And you fought him in Vegas and you didn't do over 100,000 pay-per-view buys on ESPN. So what is there out there to believe that a lesser name, a lesser known non-champion did better numbers? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So again, Errol Spence is telling you what I've been telling you. And the way Crawford went about things, to me, was unprofessional. And I said that from the beginning. It's not even so much that you came out of the woodwork and said, I'm fighting David Avanesian, which was all too familiar and predictable what the outcome will be. And the thing is, I know what I'm saying. I know I'm the greatest. I've never said anything about Crawford can't fight. He can fight his butt off. But how long can we hold Crawford at a number 1 pound for pound type of stature when since 2019, your names have been Amir Khan, Mean Machine, guys like Kell Brook, when people think he was past it and he fired his trainer, didn't even use Dominic Ingle or didn't use Eddie Hearn, and this was in the pandemic, so no crowd, yada, 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 right? Beating guys like David Avanesian, Sean Porter, who was no longer a champion, and he was off of a 400-plus day layoff. How long can we reserve this spot and this seat for Terence Crawford with those types of names. Sure, he's knocking everybody out, but it becomes easier. And just to put it in perspective, if Jaron Ennis fought every single person that Crawford has fought from 2019 to right now, one, do you think that Boots Ennis, who is a prospect, do you think, and never been a full body champion, do you think Jaron Ennis would have lost any of those fights, right? Would he lost to Mean Machine, who Virgil Ortiz, another prospect, beat, right? And a lot of people rank Boots higher than Virgil Ortiz, right? Would he have lost to Amir Khan at that space of time, where Amir Khan was in his career? Would he have lost to David Avanesian? And you know the answer. The second question is, if Jaron Ennis, who again is young, 10 years younger than Crawford, and he's still considered more of a prospect contender, whatever, right? If he fought the same David Avanesian, people would say, hey, I'm not impressed. I got to see more from Boots before I'm turned believer. They would be looking for more matchups like what we had with Frank Martin and Michelle Rivera. You know that, and I know that. I'm the best in the business. So for a 35-year-old Crawford, what Derek James is saying, what Boxingego, what EJ is saying, makes a lot of sense. You're 35 years old, and you're surviving kind of off the accolades of your past. Moving up in weight, fighting Gamboa, knocking him out, a gold medalist, becoming undisputed in another division, which is cool. That's what got you to these points. But boxing is a what have you done for me lately type of sport. So all of those past accomplishments are great. I mean, imagine going to a job interview and let's say you're 30 years old. 30 years old going to a job interview, and the question is, what makes you right and suitable for this position? And you start talking about how you want a spelling bee in the 3rd grade. You start talking about how you graduated 8th grade, or you were in the math club, or, used to be on yearbook. If you're 30 years old, you've been out of high school for like 15 years, or a little bit less than that, right? You think a job wants to hear about your past accomplishments when they're dated and archaic at that point? So again, how long can Crawford survive off of I beat Victor Postal? Because now we're in a whole new echelon and we've entered a new division where young stars like Gary Antoine Russell has also beaten Victor Postal and became the first person to stop him. So that win, it doesn't change. It's still on your record. But at the same time, boxing is a what have you done for me lately type of sport. So I truly believe that Crawford put himself in a bad position, very bad position, because you were the only thing that benefited you if you really got 10 million is just getting a lump sum of money, getting a lump sum of money right off rip. But the downside is this: you could have been more professional in how you went about it and not got on PBC's bad side. There's no guarantee that you get this fight with Errol Spence. So then that 10 months, who would Crawford even fight if Errol Spence doesn't fight until June, which is what he said on the telecast. He said he might not fight until June, and he was going to already announce it. So if that plan goes forward and he fights in May or June, that's the 5th and 6th month of a year. And I'm going to do a separate video, subscribe to my channel so I can break that down. But that's halfway through the year. 6 months into the year is June. So at the end of the day, what is Crawford going to do January, February, March, April, May, June, blah, 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 if he can't get Errol Spence, because Errol Spence may already have another fight, whoever that may be. You see what I'm saying? That means he would have to fight Errol on the back half of the year. And for the last 3 years already, he's only fought one time a year in the last 2 months of the year. Facts, look it up. So that'll be a 4th year in a row. And again, if you don't fight at least a Jaron Ennis or Virgil Ortiz or Errol or Charlo level person, then it's going to be more of the same. How can you continue to expect BOK Prime or whoever, Nickelodeon, to give you $10 million or these big whopping purses if you're not fighting in events that are going to be big enough? And I hate to say this, but Omaha, Nebraska is not big enough. It's not big enough. Like, yeah, you can pack it out and do 15,000 people there. Maybe that's, and for the record, whatever they said his attendance was the highest that he's ever had. His past attendances in Nebraska have been more closer to 11K or 12K, right? So at this point, what do you do? Where do you go from here? Because you can't charge that much for tickets in a place like Nebraska. You can't charge people $200,000 for ringside tickets like you can do in Vegas or Staples Center, LA or whatever. So I'll be here to talk more about that. Errol Spence said his piece. He said the way Crawford went about it wrong. It's not about hating. Go ahead, get your bread. But if you went about it different, you wouldn't have wasted everybody's time. And I told you in business, a lot of people hate time wasters. So hopefully Errol just moves on with his career. And, you know, I'm over it. Just if they fight, great. And, you know, I'll support it. But at the same time, the game don't wait. It's like a bus route. The bus route, they post the times that the bus will be there. If it says 10:15 a.m. and then you're running late and you walked, it don't matter how far your house is from there. If it's 10:17 and then you see the bus is pulling off, that's your fault. You know, it's not the bus. The bus was scheduled to get there. They got there at the time. They said 10:15. You was there at 10:17. The game don't wait. And that's what could be the situation for Terence Bud Crawford. We unpacked. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new, interactive, and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.